It's a very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Monday night, the West Ham Weekly. I hope you've all had a good weekend. No football to ruin it. Oh, I guess for some of you it was ruined on Thursday, but I'll talk about that game a little bit later on in the show. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to go through quite a bit of news tonight, and the key focus is something that I wanted to speak about last week but didn't do so, and that, of course, is the whole thing about concessions and the board suggesting last week that concessions will stay right across the board for even general admission, and price freezes as well to the season tickets for next season. So fantastic coup. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But before I do, I'll say good evening to everyone like I normally do. And I am going to be a bit careful and try not to put up random messages, because sometimes I read things and I haven't got a clue what they're all about. Usual, good evening to you. Sorry, usual. I said I'll always be on time. I think it was maybe a minute late. There you go, Toha. Good evening to you. Good evening to you, Leslie. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Stephen, how are you, mate? It was a great weekend. I hope you had a good one too. Good evening, Sean. How are you? Good evening, Hammerette. How are you? I'm not sure I'm going to be awake for this tonight, so we'll give a quick shout out to all lovely people. Ask you all to drop a like. Thank you very much. Who else have we got? Stephen again. Good evening to you as well. Who else have we got? Anyone new here? Matt, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Very happy about concessions are back for bands 1 to 6. Shouldn't have been taken away in the first place. Good job to all involved. Absolutely. A great job, everyone involved. Good evening to you, Paul. How are you? I hope you're well. Danny boy. Evening to you. I ain't been around. I've not been well. I hope you're getting better, mate. So do look after yourself. Matt, good evening to you again. Will Potter target Europe next season, especially if he can spend money and whoever helps with recruitment can identify the players that can fit the system? West Ham Way said club wants Scarles' new deal. Well, Scarles has got a new deal. I think he signed something like a 3 or 4 year deal last year. Maybe he'll get another one on top of that. Why not aim for Europe this season? You never know. Stephen, what are we all thinking about the football under Potter? The results might not be what we want, but they play as a team now. I'm going to talk about that later, because I don't know if any of you managed to catch a show I did on Sunday. And I talked not so much about the game itself, but about just the element of negativity creeping in amongst the fan base, because we're not playing Brazilian type football and winning, smashing everyone in sight. Matt, hope to see Earthy and Potts on the squad next season, and will they count as part of the 25-man squad, or will they still be young enough to be classed as academy players? I think we'll be seeing Potts, and I think Potts will definitely be part of the senior squad. I think Potts is 22, so he would have to be part of the senior squad. Earthy, I think, is a bit younger, but let's see how he gets on at Bristol City for the rest of the season. Just want to spread some good news, Matt. I've been fighting for my right since 2019 to be a father to my son. Can officially say we won. Well done. And hats off to hashtag Dads Matter. West Ham Boys, you're trying to say, my mate, always a pleasure. And thank you for saying that. And congratulations to you as well. Always good to hear a good story like that. Peter, on a lighter note, Potter and Souček look alike. Areola growing his facial hair for part in the new Zorro film. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Let's try and get something relevant. Howard, I'm a lone parent, Matt. My daughter's 14. Brought her back from Portugal when she was 7. Spoke no English, no education. We have built an amazing life together. I've done this completely alone. Fantastic to you all, people. Really, really hats off to you guys. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down a bit. Good evening to you, Daniela. How are you? Back-to-back wins. I hope we're all happy with back-to-back wins. Please, let's keep things nice and polite. Well, you know me, always try to. Epic. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. 1-1. What's 1-1? Is there a game on tonight? But anyway, let's scroll down. Danny boy. Going to have a decent bet at Cheltenham on Tuesday. Brighter days ahead in champion hurdle. I'm guessing that's the races. Yeah, I do not bet, so I don't know. Chris, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Vonnie. How are you? I hope you're well. Matt, Stellan chat, let's be realistic. From our next 5 fixtures, how many points can we get on the board? Newcastle 3, Everton 3, Wolves 3, Bournemouth 3, Liverpool an away draw. How about that? Good evening to you, Fly Flocks. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. I thought I was on time. Good. Who else have we got? Chris Bridlincoln calling. We'll be back down south next week, will you, mate? You're welcome back. John, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. 9 points from those next games. Let's go for more than that. Who else have we got here? Trying to go through so I can get to the stories and then get to the concessions bit really quickly. So my apologies if I'm not commenting on all your not putting up all your comments. Evening to you, mate. I'm very well, Josh. I hope you are too. Good evening, Mr. Will. How are you? I have had a bit of a bounce cut, haven't I? It's all right, isn't it? Hey, thank you. Now I don't have to use the talc. It's an in-joke. Asman, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Sharky. How are you? I hope you're well. Matt, big up still on your Dinos video. Thank you, mate. You know my opinions on player, but you are so right on the negative fans booing him. Yeah, we'll talk a bit about that later on as well. Early doors. Appreciate the Sharky. Fuzzy did a grand job. Got to love the community we have here. Absolutely. Mark, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. What do you think our midfield will look like next season? Goodness me. I haven't even started thinking about next season. Let me do that because I'm trying to put together a couple of other shows for later on this week. So I'll come back to you on that, Mark. Chris, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Usual. I look like a young Danny Ings with that fabulous hair, but this is all my real hair, unlike Danny's. Good evening, Leslie. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Daniela, I've also turned off a lot of West Ham YouTubers due to the overtop negativity. Each to their own. I mean, I do my thing. I can't be that now. I can be angry at times, absolutely, but I can't tell others how to run their channels. Good evening, Gary. I hope you're well, mate. Steve, good evening to you. Hope Isaac. Yeah, he's out again, isn't he? And Gordon, well, he's suspended. I know they put in an appeal. Are unavailable for Monday to allow us to complete our first season double. That would be not even if they do play, we should be good enough to beat them, shouldn't we? Because we'll play a very, very different game to the one that we played against Leicester the other day. John, after what we've been through the last 2 seasons, we don't need Brazilian football, just a steady improvement we're seeing under Potter. Absolutely agree. Now, let me run through some of the general news about the club, and then I'm going to get onto concessions. So let's start off with the women's team. Yeah, they're part of West Ham, so deal with it. The women's team were involved in a 7-goal thriller against Arsenal at the weekend. West Ham were leading 2-1 at half-time with Amber Ziak netting a brace for West Ham. However, Shakira Martinez made it 3-1. However, Arsenal came back and were ahead just after the hour mark, and that's how it finished, 4-3. Sounds like it was a very, very exciting game. How about some academy news? Well, the under-21s are absolutely storming ahead. Last Friday, they notched up their 7th win in a row, where Tyrone Akpata hit a sweet strike from outside the box just before half-time, which proved to be the winner. A viewer pointed out that the under-21s' winning streak seems to coincide with Graham Potter's arrival at the club. And I didn't think of that before, but that's quite an interesting insight. You can look at the academy players, and now that they've seen that academy players are being given an opportunity in the senior team, has that given them a bit of a boost? Has that given them a bit of a lift, to think, what, under Graham Potter, we absolutely stand a good chance. Not to say that they were under part, they weren't performing before Potter's arrival, but that extra lift, in Potter taking an absolute interest. We've had 3 academy players in the senior squad since his arrival. Scars has been getting more and more game time. So yeah, I think that's great. It's an interesting point. Look, it's a great run for the academy. For the under-21s. They're now sitting comfortably in 3rd place in their league, 2 points behind Fulham, who are in 2nd, and 6 points behind Man City. But West Ham and Fulham both have a game in hand over the league leaders at this moment in time. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Well done to West Ham, because we started the season really badly, and for them to go on this run and actually, now have seven wins on the trot is a superb effort. The under-18s weren't involved in any competitive games over last week, but Graham Potter did arrange for the senior team to play against them I think it was at the weekend, where a number of fringe players, I don't want to call them fringe players, but a number of players that don't regularly play for the senior team were involved. And the senior team won 5-0. And Danny Ings and Luis Guillem both got goals in that 5-0 win. So very astute move from Potter to make sure that the players who aren't getting a lot of game time have been given a bit of match fitness by having this game against the under-18s. Not only also does it continue to show Potter who is really up for the fight to want to stay at West Ham United, but it also gives him an opportunity to see which of the under-18s did well. Because if you remember, well, you may not, at the start of this season, I talked about how a lot of our under-21 players had gone out on loan. Then come January, even more under-21 players have gone out on loan. And what's happened is most of the under-18 players who were in the under-18s last season are now playing in the under-21s. And interestingly, one or two of them have also gone out on loan. Kodua, I think he spent just one season before he was sent out on loan to Wycombe Wanderers and so on. So you could see the churn happening. Good players are being loaned out, see how they get on. Earthy, Potts, Marshall and all that sort of stuff. And then you're pushing up the under-18s, playing in the under-21s and seeing how they fare. Well done to Potter. Well done to West Ham, because this has been in place before Potter, but Potter is probably the first manager that's actually going to take advantage of the academy system that we have at West Ham United. And talking about loans, well, let's go into a few loan players. Over the past week or so, a number of players have been getting, again, good game time, which is what you want when your players go out on loan. Last week in League One, Callum Marshall scored his 8th goal of the season for Huddersfield Town, but it wasn't enough to turn the tide as Huddersfield lost 2-1 away against Wigan Athletic. And then at the weekend, he was on target again, where Huddersfield Town maintained their promotion challenge with a 2-1 win over Stevenage in League One. Now, the Northern Ireland striker has now scored 9 goals in all competitions for Huddersfield, and he's assisted in 4 as well. He's having an excellent... Oh, I just hit the mic. Let me just double check the settings that it's not gone off. It hasn't gone off, so which is good. So he's doing exceptionally well. He scored 8 league goals in 33 League One appearances, 1 league goal in the Carabao Cup, and he's had 4 assists as well. He is having a really good season. Now, people are asking, well, surely it's time to bring him back and have him as part of the first team. Let's not get hasty, because Freddie Potts did the same thing. He went to a League One club the season before last, Wycombe Wanderers, and then he moved up to the Championship where he's playing for Portsmouth this season. And I think what will happen with Marshall, and maybe 1 or 2 other players that are doing exceptionally well in League One or League Two on loan, is that they'll probably then go and play for a Championship team next season. If they continue to smash it, then the season after that, you've got yourself a ready-made striker at West Ham United. When was the last time we had a striker come through the academy? Oh, Christ. You tell me. Right, strangely enough, Freddie Potts was an unused sub against Luton at the weekend, where Portsmouth lost 1-0, which is really strange. George Earthy's Bristol City travel to Millwall tomorrow evening. Watch out for goalies. So we'll find out if he'll be part of that setup as well. In the National League, Regan Clayton played the final 35 minutes as a sub for Dagenham and Redbridge, but was unable to prevent his side losing 3-1 at home to Boston United. And in National League South, goalkeeper Mason Terry, his Hornchurch side celebrated a second straight win after coming from behind by beating Enfield Town 3-1, moving them 14 points clear of the relegation zone last week. But at the weekend, the young academy keeper ended on the losing side at Hornchurch, where they relinquished an early lead to lose 2-1 against Weymouth. Last week, Brad Dollahan, his Aldershot Town team, moved 3 points clear of the Vanarama National League relegation zone with a 3-1 win over Solihull Moors. And then Dollahan came on as a second-half sub with just under half an hour left. And there was even betting news at the weekend where Aldershot and Donohan are now 1 game away from a possible appearance at Wembley after their 3-0 win over Sittingbourne in the FA Trophy quarter-final. Imagine having a hammer at Wembley. Good luck to him. Goalkeeper, Christian Hegyi, his Debreceni side, Hungarian side, remain in a bit of danger of being relegated from the Hungarian top flight after losing 2-1 at home to Fehervar. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. You look it up for yourselves. That was on Sunday. And one more player on loan at the moment. Well, no, there's a couple of others. But in Italy, Maxwell Cornet appeared as a second-half sub and helped Genoa recover from a half-time deficit to draw 1-1 with Empoli. A draw means Genoa remain 12th in the Serie A table, 9 points above the relegation zone. And there was another player who played last week, Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma, remember him? He's still a West Ham player. He also appeared as a sub, albeit all the goals hadn't been scored when the defender was introduced, for Al Oroba in their 2-1 home win over Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League. I bet he had Ronaldo in his pocket throughout that whole game, or throughout the time when he came on as a sub. Now, in France, Mahamadou Kante, who's he? Anyone know? Anyway, in France, Mahamadou Kante made his first appearance where he played for 4 minutes, a full 4 minutes, as a sub as Paris FC won 3-2 at Annecy to maintain their second place in League Two and remain on track to win promotion to the top flight for the first time since they were relegated in 1979. Who am I talking about? Well, if you can recall, Kante was signed by Tim Steidten last summer, but was immediately loaned back to Paris FC for the season. However, the 19-year-old central midfielder has played almost the whole season for Paris FC's under-21s. And this was his first game for the senior team, for a full 4 minutes. Look, he's considered to be a talent, but we genuinely don't know because no one has seen him play. I would imagine this might be a Steidten pearl. Let's hope it is. Let's hope I'm proved wrong about Tim Steidten and this really is a Steidten pearl. But until he comes to join West Ham United, probably at 19 years of age, he'll probably join the under-21 squad rather than the senior squad. He's a bit of an unknown entity. Now, it's been suggested that he's not getting any game time at Paris FC because after Red Bull's buyout of the club last October, it was suggested that Red Bull didn't want to develop a player that they're not going to keep anymore. So given the fact that we signed him and we loaned him back, much to his detriment, the poor lad is not getting any game time. Now, I don't know. Would Red Bull do that? He didn't play any games before Red Bull bought the club. So I don't know. I don't know if that is really true or not. Right. I'm going to come to concessions, but I'm going to put a few more of your comments out. I feel bad for Fly Fox. I feel bad for Mavropanos. It would be one thing if he wasn't trying, but he's out there giving his all. Absolutely and totally agree with you. I don't know. Under 18s on YouTube at 11 o'clock on the 5th of March. I'll be working, but I'll try and have it sleekly on. Toha, I like the rock follies usual. You see, I put it up and I've got no clue what you're talking about. Darren, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I like your show about Mavropanos. You were spot on. He's getting a lot of flack, like certain YouTube and other people giving Souček a lot of flack as well. It's unnecessary. It really is. People can have an opinion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't have an opinion on players, but sometimes does it get a little bit too much? I don't know. Matt, I know we need a striker, but I'd like us to try and get Omari Hutchinson from Ipswich, but not for more than 15 mil. That's a good shout, rather than everyone calling to get Delap. Interesting. Toha, if you can get him or Delap, who would you bag, Matt? Who else have we got? Early doors. Still, any truth that the board are willing to give Potter more money in the summer due to his impact at the club? It depends on whether we got the money or not. Now, you're going to have to watch for a show. My apologies, because I'm halfway through a script about it. You're going to have to watch for a show that I'll put out later this week. And now I actually know, I did allude to it in a show last week or the week before, how we can make a certain amount of money without having to sell any of our top players. But I'll do it again. I'll rewrite it and I'll put it out again this week. Will they give him any more? It depends on financial fair play, etc., PSR, and all that sort of stuff. We keep being told that we're too close to it, so I think there will be money to spend. Of course, there'll be money coming in from TV rights and all that sort of stuff. But let's not go thinking that we're going to be signing a 40, 50 million pound player in the summer transfer window, and let's not go thinking we're going to get a Jonathan David who's going to want a 250, 300,000 pound a week wage packet to come to somewhere like any club, for that matter. We won't do it. But that might mean to fans that the board is not backing Potter. I don't think so, because Potter, as we all know, has got a very different way of getting players in. We've only got to look at the history of what he's done, him and Carl Macaulay at Brighton, to have a clear understanding of which direction we're likely to be heading with regards to substitution, transfer signings in the summer. I would be shocked if we buy a player that's worth more than 25 mil. Really will. But of course, fans will think that we're not backing the board is not backing him if we're not getting a 40 mil player that we're linked to. If you hear a rumor saying we're linked to a 35, 40, 50 million pound player, you can forget it. If you hear a rumor that we're linked to someone like Jonathan David, who wants Champions League football and a 200, 300,000 pound a week wage packet, forget it. It's not going to happen. Lee, good evening, mate. It's my birthday on Thursday. I'll be a very happy birthday to you, mate. Enjoy your 40s. I certainly did a long time ago. I can barely remember it, but there you go. Peter, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Have a good birthday, mate. He's definitely not the worst player in the squad. He must be in the top 7 or 8. He's a decent player. I think he'll probably be sold in the summer, but he certainly doesn't deserve to be booed. Darren, hi, Stel. It's great to see you. It was you. Sorry, mate. You know what? I saw you and I was like, my head was like in different places. So my apologies for not saying a proper hello, Darren, mate. I hope you're doing well. Montana, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Will they be able to renovate the stadium, and will GSB really commit that kind of money? It doesn't. We don't own the stadium, so no, it won't be the board committing any money to the stadium. But when I talk about concessions, I'm going to also talk about the stadium as well. So bear with me on that and see what I've got to say about that. Sonny Perkins is doing really well in League One. He could still end up being a good player. He should have stayed. He should have stayed. Did I think he was a better player than other strikers that we had at the time? Mubama? No, I thought Mubama was a better player. But good luck to him. You know, you don't have to make a career. Not everyone makes a Premier League career out of football. You can still make a good career and a good living if you play in League One, Championship, etc. So the very best of luck to him. Toha, the pronunciation of Feheva was good for you, means White City. Spent a cracking you there. There you go. I didn't know that. Thank you for Toha. Did I pronounce it right? Feheva? Feheva? It's near as damn it. Frog, good evening, mate. How are you? Red Bull, can't we give them things? Very good. Very good. Matt, I don't watch the women's team. Neither do I. But how can the women lose 4-3 when we were 3-0 or 3-1 up? Shocking. Get that useless skin out. Montana, Stel, I read somewhere the City will give their go ahead if we want to build a proper multi-sport stadium. Any truth? It's the first I'm hearing about it, to be quite honest with you. I will look into it. I've not heard anything about that. I read somewhere the City will give their go-ahead if we want to build a proper multi-sport stadium. I genuinely, that's the first time I'm hearing about that. So if I'll do some research and I will let you know. Any news on Somerville? My understanding is that he's not likely to be back until the end of March. Darren, Stel, would you give Creswell another year extension to help Scarles progress? I love the player. That's exactly what I said. I really do think that he will get another year, and what that helping Scarles to progress will be one of the good reasons for it. Philip, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. In supporting West Ham for 60 years, I've never booed any of our players ever. Just came close to many years ago when Jermaine Defoe was running around like a headless chicken, deliberately sent off. You can understand why we were upset with Jermaine Defoe when he handed in a transfer on the day that we got relegated. But I don't think we ever booed him, did we, when he was actually on the pitch playing football. 2 up, 2 down. Good evening, mate. Loving the show. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. I hope you're well. Who else have we got? Stephen. I said when Macaulay came in, we needed to get used to players we haven't heard much about, but I think that's a good thing. I do too. It's going to be crazy for the ITKs trying to suss out, trying to look up all the Ecuadorian strikers out there and the Colombian strikers in the 3 or 4 leagues that they have, and the Peruvian strike. That's what's going to happen, isn't it? That's what's going to happen. Andrew, good evening to you. Moneyball recruitment or hungry young talent who give it all would be my idea of moving forward instead of retirement home for the top 6 cast-offs. I totally agree. Brian, good evening to you. Booing, Mavro, broke my heart. It's common over here in the States to boo players of your own team. Wow. Really? Wow. Chris, the last thing we need is a multi-purpose stadium. It's a bit weird what Montana was asking. Montana, a multi-purpose stadium, we've already got one. That's a good point, Chris. We already have one of those. And it's shit. Right. Let's talk about concession because it's big news. It was big news last week that West Ham United became the latest club to agree to keeping concession tickets throughout next season. I'm hoping it's beyond that. It's carefully worded, isn't it, that they're talking about next season, but I don't know if there's a commitment there to go beyond. Fingers crossed it is. But not only that, they're extending concessions across all bands for general admission as well, which is a massive result. And furthermore, a massive surprise as well, given that we all thought that we were going to have a price increase, is that prices have been frozen for next season. And well done to the board for doing that. Look, the club mentioned that these decisions were made after extensive talks with the West Ham Fan Advisory Board, so United Front most certainly works when it comes to negotiating with the board. The FAB also put out a statement welcoming the news, as did Hammers United, who, along with Save Our Concessions, have really worked hard to galvanise the fan base through the FAB to see this outcome. And here, the statement praised the fans, where a petition started back in June 2024 and grew from there. Now, Chris Mills, you're in the show, aren't you? Was behind the boycotting of the Betway Cup campaign, then followed up by Alex Kirby's stirring video of him and his son going to West Ham games, which launched the Save Our Concessions campaign. And there were plenty of other initiatives as well throughout the whole year. Not to mention the efforts of Hammers United chairman Paul Colburn, as well as the tireless work carried out by Joint Secretary of Hammers United, Andy Payne. And what made this success was the fans were all as one, which is the important thing here. Now, I think one of the things I was always worried about, and I've got to be honest, Paul knows this, I've spoken to Paul about it before, that when Hammers United first started up, I was dismissive. I was very dismissive, in fact. And I said, what, another fan base? I mean, what's happened with the previous one? The fans felt let down, nothing materialized, nothing seemed to sort of happen, no progress was made. And Paul was saying, look, it's meant to be a joint effort, etc. And I kept saying, look, the only way you're going to get a joint effort is you've got all these fan groups that go and speak to Karen Brady, who I believe, I don't know if she still chairs those meetings with the FAB or not, but it just felt like too many factions. There was, all these different groups speaking to the board, all in sort of in isolation. And I said, whilst that happens, we're never going to get anywhere. And what I think Hammers United have done, the Save Our Concessions program has done, the FAB itself, all the different groups within the FAB, they've all sung from the same hymn sheet on this. And that is a fantastic approach, because when you're all together, you're stronger. It's obvious, isn't it, really? Now, the Hammers United statements also pointed out that this would have been all for nothing if the club itself didn't engage. And the statement made it very clear that the board must also be recognised for their input. Look, whilst many fans dislike the board for one reason or another, we have to recognise that they were willing to listen. And perhaps, maybe, this is the start of a much closer bond, a much closer relationship between the fans and the board. Who knows? But isn't that what we want? And I know a lot of fans keep saying board out, Brady out, and all that sort of stuff. I understand that, because there's been 10 years or so, or well, longer than that, 15 years of just a lot of false dawns, a lot of false promises. Karen Brady's interview the other week on Sky didn't really help, etc. But if the fan base can continue to work together. Hammers United, FAB, etc. Oh, the FSA were involved, and so on and so forth. If they can galvanize together and work as one, then they're a stronger force. And then that way, the board will take it seriously, will listen to the fans, because there's more work to do. The concessions is a great achievement, not only an achievement for FAB, for Hammers United, Save Our Concessions, etc., but it's an achievement because we've got the board to listen, and that really is a very, very important thing. Now there is other work. The next phase has got to be the stadium and the atmosphere. This is what fans coming together can do. And now we can work alongside the club to come up with solutions to make the atmosphere make it a better environment. Now, I think it was last week or the week before, I lose track of time, I talked about it, well, certainly after Brady's interview, I talked about some of the things that maybe we could do and as a fan base to try and improve things. Look, the club should push for a better stadium experience with the current owners of the stadium. We may not get everything we want, but at least it will show that the club cares, and we can work alongside the club. The different fan bases, Hammers United, etc., work alongside the club to give ideas of how things can be improved. Now, I talked about. When I talked about some of the ideas that we can put to the board, I was suggesting bringing the fans closer to the touchline, etc. But as Nigel pointed out to me in the Friday night show we did just over a week ago, he said, "Well, that's not going to solve the problem of the gaps between the lower tiers and the upper tiers. In fact, what that would do, if you try and bring the lower tier fans closer to the touchline, it would actually widen the gap behind in the upper tiers." And he said, we're better off actually having the west stand and maybe the stands behind the goals push further back, so you get rid of the gaps in between, because then there's a better connect between the upper tier and the lower tier. And if he pointed out there are Olympic stadiums around the world, Roma and Lazio play in the Olympic Stadium in Rome, and the atmosphere there is superb. And that's because it's all bonded, it's all as one. And they've still got a running track around the stadium, so it can generate a good atmosphere. And it's a different way of thinking. And that's the sort of stuff that we should be talking to the board about. Sort of putting ideas forward, working with them, working as in unison, rather than the feeling of that we're tugging. It's a tug of war between us. The safe standing thing that I talked about a few weeks ago is also another thing that we could talk to the board about. Now, I know I've been told, Sean Whetstone did say to me, that no one will do anything about this because it costs money. Well, let's look at finding a way, of generating the funds to actually get a standing area within and that will create a better atmosphere. Now, I know the Bobby Moore Lower and Chav Corner people already stand, but let's talk about trying to make everyone sit down. Well, rather than that, why not find a way of getting a proper standing area? Let's create a family zone. We had one at the Boleyn, and I said this, and I know Nigel didn't like the idea, and a few of the viewers didn't either. But let's create a neutral zone. Let's have an area in the stadium where the tourists can come, watch their football, take selfies, and go home without realising who the hell was playing on the pitch. So there are ideas, but what is good? The point is what is good about this is that there's a unison between the fans. Now, in a time when we have so much discourse amongst the fans, especially about the football, and I'm going to come to that now when I do the match review, where we have so much discourse, this is a great opportunity to really bring the fans together and go for something, as a combined effort. The concessions thing was a combined effort, and we did exceptionally well. But the whole fan base, everyone that was involved, I didn't get involved. I mentioned it. I promoted it a couple of times. I hope I did my bit, but there was other people that did a hell of a lot more work than someone like me, but if we can do that, if we can galvanize the fan base around things that really are important, because if you improve the stadium, now we've got the concessions done, season tickets is a massive bonus that they're frozen. And now that's done, of course, we've got to keep up the pressure and hope that doesn't disappear after next season. But now we've got another focus. We all don't like the stadium. We know the stadium is not very good in terms of atmosphere, etc. So Let's have ideas. Let's generate ideas. Let's talk about what can be done. I know people will just say, damn it, just knock it down and start again. But unfortunately, that's not really, at this moment in time, a real option. Montana, I really do have to look up information as to what you've suggested, about building a new stadium. But that's not my understanding. And West Ham United as a football club will not invest money in building a new stadium. There's no business sense gain from doing that. West Ham United as a football club have moved into the London Stadium because they knew how much money it will save on operating costs. So I think the last thing they're likely to do, unless of course it's funded by someone, who's it going to be funded by? What? The city itself, the government, the mayor of London? I doubt it. I'd be very surprised, but I'm going to look into it, Montana, and thank you for highlighting and mentioning that. So there is focus. There is a way of galvanizing this fan base and not being so sort of torn, because if we now work towards improving the stadium atmosphere, putting in proposals, suggestions, trying to get the owners of the stadium and the board all on side to look at how we can improve the stadium atmosphere, then that will go some way maybe towards what the sort of football that we're watching. Now, I don't have a problem with the football that we're watching under Potter, but let's talk about that when we do the match day review in a moment. So who have we got? Bonnie. Glad that Gordon is not going to play against us next game. That red card won't be rescinded. Never forgiven him for the foul on Phillips last season to win that penalty. You forgot about that. Matt, we got a multi-purpose stadium, but the owners don't utilize it correctly. Imagine having these boxing or MMA there. 2022 was a missed opportunity for AJ, 10 years anniversary of the Olympics. Good point, Howard. Thanks, excuse me, bloody good stuff. Yeah, thank you. Philip, yes, good news about the concessions and well done to all groups, all away fans, especially Toha. They're doing a cracking... See, this is what I mean. I've got to be careful what I read out because I've got no clue what you're talking about. Matt, my father said back in 2015 about moving to the London Stadium. West Ham only plays away games. GSB out. Long live the bowling. Leon, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Matt, petition to stop the light shows. Stop Americanizing our sport. No, I don't care about the light show. I don't get there in time to watch it, to be quite honest with you. Montana Spurs have a multi-sport stadium. The problem is ours was never planned to host football games. That's why the seating plan is no good for us. Chris, they were embarrassed into listening. They never expected the fans to all stick together. They definitely didn't expect rival fans to unite. That was another thing, getting other fans from other fan groups being involved as well. That gave it a lot of strength, didn't it? Andrew, Jonathan David's stories conveniently circulating, coinciding with early season ticket renewals. We got more chance of signing Larry David. They must think we're simple. But in all honesty, Andrew, that's not coming from the club. This is coming from the ITKs. So I can't even blame the board for that. There is absolutely no truth in... Look, I'll tell you what happened with Jonathan David, and I said this last week. We've approached his agents and we've said, interested? Oh, tell us what you're offering. We're offering this. All right, thank you. We'll let you know. It's probably as far as it's gone. In all honesty, that is about as far as it's all gone. Jonathan David has made it very clear. He's leaving Lille at the end of this season because he's on a free. He's going to where he wants on a free. A club that's going to offer him Champions League football and a massive pay packet. I would love to get him, but it's not even coming from the club. Montana, I'm so gutted we're missing out on the FA Cup this season. The field looks so wide open. I am gutted too, but there's always next season. James, is there a joint reasoning behind the season tickets being held at this season prices, being the hard work of Hams United, Concessions? One, being the hard work of Hams United, and two, a sense of downturn interest from fans over the stadium. Is there joint reasoning? It could be. There could be. You could look at it in that way. Certainly, Hammers United have worked really, really hard on the concessions to help win the day on that. And a sense of downturn interest from the fans. That's very, very possible, James. Very possible indeed. Leslie, soccer, not American football. Stop all the jazzy shit and play some decent music. I like jazzy shit. Andrew, I fancy Brighton to win it. good luck to them. Pete, well done to all the channels which backed the concessions, helped to change the board's mind. It was a board. It was a combined effort, shall we continue to say. Chelsea used to have a Greyhound track. They did. And Bonnie, hope the concessions stay for next season and season after that. And season after that, they should never be removed. Absolutely. Matt, well, still, my good man, the board had every opportunity to work with us fans and work in around the stadium. They should have had us at the top of the priority. I totally agree. I don't disagree with that at all. And maybe 10 years down the line, they're finally beginning to listen. Who knows? Matt, taking the workers who sold the program and fanzines, workers from the pubs, the store workers, but nope, they didn't care. You know, it's a tough one, that one, because whenever you move, there is going to be fallout, isn't there? And now, I could be wrong. I don't think West Ham United as a club ever promised the workers around the old ground that they're going to have their jobs intact, etc. I don't know. All I remember are the promises that we're making about the stadium itself. Montana, I've noticed the FA Cup final takes place before the final league fixtures. It's strange. I hate that. The cup final was the pinnacle, wasn't it, of the season? You know, the league finished and then you had the cup final. I do find that a bit weird. Daniela, I do think some of the fan base need to get off their high horse. We left the bowling ground and we're not going back. So as a fan base, we need to make the most of what we have, but nothing but bringing in new ideas. We can't go back. That is the truth. We can't go back. Chris, just build one new stadium stand from pitch side to the roof. Single tier would be far better and shut the ridiculous gap. Yeah, I did say, I think in the show last week or the week before last, there were some architect sort of drawings that suggested that you could build seating within what's currently there. So leaving the carcass and build new seating, there'll be a big gap behind. But I've heard that could happen before. I don't know. That maybe that's an option. Who knows? Who else have we got? Philip. I have one more important gripe. Get rid of that music at half time. Poor Russ. You do know it's Russ from West Ham Network that, oh no, is it Russ at halftime? It might be. I don't listen to it. I just switch off to it. I don't listen to the music, but I get you. Darren, evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. What happened to the retractable seating that would get fans closer to the pitch? Exactly what happened indeed. Matt, if we could get Jonathan David, I hope would be if we did get Jonathan David, I hope he would be a success with us and not end up like a Haller or a Skamaka. Good before West Ham and great after West Ham. Was that down to Moyes? Who knows? Andrew, I dislike the stadium very much, but if we can build a competitive team that play entertaining football, the stadium failings will soon be forgotten. It's the only way the stadium atmosphere will improve. And I'll hark back to when we were playing in Europe and the Seville game, one of the best atmospheres in that stadium ever. It can happen. It can be done. It absolutely can be done. Daniela. Sorry, not Daniela, Darren. Stelios, our season tickets on sale yet, mate? I put £10 deposit. I'm hoping to get one for next season. No, they're not, but I suspect they'll be on offer. What will happen is current season ticket holders will be offered to renew first, and then it'll be sometime down the line. I don't know what the date is, where those who don't have a season ticket can then apply for one. Adam, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Frank Lampard said got booed, but mate was season ticket time. Said that not true. Who was telling the truth? Frank Lampard said he got booed, but was season ticket time. Said that's not true. Who's telling the truth? I don't remember Frank Lampard getting, but I remember Frank Lampard getting a lot of stick. You know, because a lot of fans at the time used to think he was getting favours because you know, at the club for playing, and people kept saying he wasn't good enough to play. Well, he proved us all wrong there, didn't he? So I don't really. He used to get a lot of shit from the fans, without a doubt. Who else have we got here? Stephen Howard, that's hilarious. In Devon, good for you. So I'm trying not, when you're having internal chats, you know, it's great, but I put them up and I don't know what you're talking about. Let's scroll down. Okay, you lot are talking about who's playing. 5-4. I haven't got a clue. So you don't have to tell me who it is, so I have an understanding. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to go into the review of the game now. So let's do that. Right. Now, I've done 2 videos on this on the game already. I did the post-match review immediately after the game on Thursday night and gave my immediate thoughts of the game. And then I did quite a bit of a different review. Well, it wasn't really a review of the game, to be honest with you. It touched on the game, but it was all about, you know, the negativity around that game and how social media seemed to implode on itself, about how we set ourselves up and so on and so forth. I don't really want to go over that again. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, you can look at the video I did on Sunday. That went out on Sunday evening. But let's look at the game itself, you know, and try and do a bit more of a sort of an in-depth analysis of it. Look, I suggested that it was quite possible that this would be the first time that Potter would put out an unchanged team. Now, I kept dabbling. I kept wondering to myself, you know, would he change it or would he not? And there were a number of good reasons why I didn't think he was going to change it. So we had Areola in goal, Todibo, Kilman and Creswell as a back 3, Wan-Bissaka and Skulls, the wide players with Alvarez, Souček and Ward-Prowse in the middle, and then Bowen and Kudus up front. But we didn't play a 5-3-2 formation that we did with the same players against Arsenal. And it was a bit more of a fluid setup. You know, there were the 3 at the back, but it was more like having like a sort of a 3-4-1-2 formation, but it was moving all the time. And the reason why it was moving all the time was based on our front men and our 3 midfielders. You know, because 1 minute you had the likes of Alvarez playing on the left side. Next minute you had Alvarez, you know, for the furthest forward with Kudus and Bowen. And then the next minute you had Alvarez sitting so deep he was like a sweeper sitting behind Kilman. And Souček was doing much the same, more going forward. Souček, he was more the attack minded. But what we also had was James Ward-Prowse was like that pivot in the middle. And it was flowing. Now, I came out straight after the game and I said, because of that, it felt as it looked like it was sort of total football. And I got a few silly remarks by suggesting that. Hang on a minute. Sushi, I've got to let the cat out. Hang on a minute. My apologies for that. She woke up and then she decided to leave. Right. So, yeah. And I said, you know, straight after the game, I said, you know, it felt like total football and like people laughed and etc. But it wasn't, you know, I wasn't turning around going, we were playing like Johan Cruyff and the rest of the Netherlands team. It was more about just the movement of players, how the players were moving around on a regular basis. Like I said, you know, 1 minute you had Alvarez on one side, then the other side, up front, at the back, etc. Souček doing the same thing. Ward-Prowse going out left, going out wide. And it was good to see. It was free-flowing football. And that's what I meant when I was kind of suggested it was a little bit like total football. Look, let's go back to this lineup because I kept asking myself, would Potter go with a back 4? And then there was a good suggestion for maybe going with a back 4, and he could have put Wan-Bissaka as the right back, Todibo and Kilman in the centre, and then Ollie Skulls on the left, dropping Creswell, and then having like a 4-3-2-1 or whatever. But the one thing that we know that we've been better at is we're starting to keep clean sheets. We're conceding we're conceding less goals now than we were under Lopetegui. Now, under Lopetegui, the average number of goals we were conceding per game was 2 per game. And under Potter, we've been conceding an average of 1 per game. So you know a back 3 works. However, playing a back 3 doesn't mean you're playing defensively. Now, all right, look, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say now, the game against Leicester in the second half certainly wasn't an experience that I want to relish again. It was a boring game, but we'd won it by then. But going back to the lineup, but by having a back 3, Max Kilman is the most comfortable defender I've seen playing in the centre of a back 3 for a long, long, long time. And I just felt that Potter was going to keep the back three in order to afford Kilman that position. And he did just that. And Max Kilman playing in the centre of a back three looks accomplished, looks really good. We've got Todibo still getting match fit on the right-hand side. And at this moment in time, the only player that we've got that can play the centre left of a back three is Cresswell. Now, I was asked earlier on, would Cresswell get a contract extension next season? And I've got a very good feeling that he will. Look, not because Cresswell is going to remain our first choice back three centre back on the left. No, but he's going to be a player that in the back room, you know, in the dressing room, he's a really, everyone likes him. He's one of those sorts of players that really gets the players going, etc. So for that, I think he'll be kept. He's a good backup. Don't misunderstand me when I say I think Cresswell will get a contract extension. It doesn't mean he's going to be playing every single game. In fact, you know, I think we'll go out and get ourselves another left-footed centre-back. And someone asked me the other day, well, surely that's what Max Kilman is. But Max Kilman is fantastic in the centre of a back three. So I think with Todibo on the right-hand side, I think we're going to go out and get ourselves a left-footed centre-back that can play in a back three formation. And that will be our back three moving forward. Todibo, Kilman, plus another. And I think that's what will happen. But with regards to Cresswell, I think he'll be kept at the club. I think he'll be kept at the club because he's a good backup. He's a good player in the back room, etc. And also because one player is going to really benefit from him being there, and that's Ollie Scholes. You know, I see an awful lot in Ollie Scholes and what we've seen in Cresswell when he was younger. Great going down that wing. Good. He was a great defender at his time, Cresswell, and put in a really great ball into the box. And Scholes will get better at that. And who better to learn off than Aaron Cresswell? So I've got a feeling that Cresswell will certainly be kept on next season for one more season while Scholes is continuing to develop. Alvarez, you've got to shout out for Alvarez as well, because earlier on this season, Alvarez was all over the place. He was like a headless chicken going in on challenges. He did it last season as well under David Moyes. He felt he had to be everywhere on the pitch, you know, and he was picking up yellow cards left, right and centre. And all of a sudden, we've seen a very, very different Edson Alvarez over the past, you know, couple of months. He seems to have calmed down. He hasn't lost his edge, but he seems to have calmed down. He knows what he's doing. And also, he knows that if he doesn't manage to cover a particular area of the pitch, there's going to be someone else behind him that's going to do it. You know, it's either going to be Souček or it's either going to be James Ward-Prowse, but he knows that he's got that support, so he doesn't have to do it all by himself. And so I've seen a difference in Edson Alvarez as well. And he played really well last week or last Thursday. But I think the player that's really, really relishing his time under Graham Potter is James Ward-Prowse. Look, discarded unceremoniously by Lopetegui in preference for Carlos Soler in the summer, then ignored by Forest, only to, you know, he played a handful of games and mainly as a sub, etc., only to sort of come back to become a pivotal role at West Ham United in midfield. And Graham Potter knows a good player when he sees one. No one ever really said that we had to get rid of James Ward-Prowse because he was a rubbish player, you know. And I've got to be honest, though, when I was looking at the details about Carlos Soler, I was saying, oh, maybe Soler is a bit of an upgrade on Potter, on James Ward-Prowse. So I kind of get it. But it hasn't turned out that way. Now, I don't think Soler is a bad player, but I think certainly James Ward-Prowse, you know, Potter knows what he's offering West Ham, and he's been fantastic in that middle of the park. You know, he sprays the ball around, which we know he can. He runs down the ball, runs down every ball, tries to get every ball back. He wants to control the game. And we kind of saw that against Arsenal. And then we saw that against Leicester as well. His return is likely to be one of the main reasons why we may not keep Carlos Soler next season. So players are benefiting from the way Potter has set this team up. But what I heard, and I think what got my goat a little bit, to be honest with you, is that the game against Leicester was too pragmatic, too safe, boring, etc., etc. But you know what? First and foremost, We needed to get the 3 points. And secondly, we needed to get 3 points without having slip-ups. How many times have we played against teams like Leicester and other teams like that, and we got found wanting? And it happens over and over and over again. There used to be almost like 3 tiers of Premier League football, and you'd always think that West Ham United would kind of beat the teams below them, get something from the teams in the middle and never get anything from the teams above. And that was certainly, the style that most managers seem to adopt at West Ham. Potter doesn't give a damn about that. Potter wants to get points from every team. It doesn't matter whether in the middle, at the top, or at the bottom. You've only got to look at how we played against Arsenal, how we played against Chelsea, how we played against the likes of Aston Villa twice, etc., to realise that Potter isn't going to set his team up, to afford the other team to run riot over us. But then at the same time, Potter's not an idiot. He's not going to think that the likes of Leicester City are a team that we're just going to trounce, because football just doesn't work that way. Get the 3 points, make sure we're secure. And let's be honest, by the time we went 2-0 up at halftime, the game was over. Look, and also Potter would have been all too aware that Leicester brought in Andy King to be the new first team coach under Ruud van Nistelrooy. And we don't know what different tactics or setup or team setup, etc., King may have suggested to Van Nistelrooy. So Potter would have been aware of this, and he would have made sure that nothing was going to, we weren't going to just slip up. I know fans wanted us to go out there and pulverise Leicester, but like I said, football doesn't work that way. Now, in the second half, Potter rightly brought on fresh legs, but ironically, they didn't work. It gave Leicester the momentum. But I totally got why Potter wanted to bring on a number of players. First of all, the game was won. Secondly, it's an opportunity for those players to continue demonstrating that they're still part and parcel of the future of West Ham United. So when players came on, they should have been performing, and it just didn't work. We looked a little bit disjointed, and we kind of ironically gave Leicester a little bit of momentum, but they were toothless and they didn't take advantage of that. Look, it was a learning curve for Potter. He can see who still wants to be here next season, who wants to fight for the shirt, who's got the hunger, and who he needs to move on. Now, many suggested that Luis Guilherme should have been given game time, and perhaps that's true. Perhaps he should have done. But we weren't chasing the game. We didn't need to. We didn't need the pace, so we were contained. I don't think we broke a sweat in that game, to be quite honest with you. And other people suggested that Ferguson should have started over Souček. Now, I don't understand that. And again, Thomas Souček being the one who's the fall guy, God knows why. He scored so many goals for West Ham United. And if we end up selling him to Everton next season and he goes back to play under Moyes, you're going to see he'll score against us, which is what will happen. And you're going to see a player that will be in double figures for Everton again next season from midfield. And then, of course, so by the way, Ferguson, he's not match fit. You could see that. You could see when he came on against Arsenal. You can see when he came on against Leicester that he's just not got that fitness at the moment. He's had golden chances set up on a plate for him in both games. He had a golden chance at Arsenal to score a goal. He had a golden chance against Leicester to score a goal. He just wanted to take one too many touches to line himself up. And in the Premier League, by the time you touched it more than twice, that's it. It's over. And then, of course, Todibo came off because he's not 100% fully fit. And the last thing we want is for him to get another injury because he's not fully fit. But then, what happened was his replacement, as we've already discussed on the show, got booed. And that, for me, getting booed by your own fans was a real downer, to be really honest with you. Sure, Mavropanos has got an error in him. We know that. But it doesn't warrant fans booing him. And as people have said in the chat, he puts all his efforts in when he comes on the pitch. He's not a lazy player. If he was a lazy player, he'd be nowhere near the first team. He puts effort in. He's not great. We know he's going to get moved, probably going to get moved on in the summer. But to boo him? Look, it was a professional job against Leicester. We're on 33 points. We're just about Premier League safe. Now Potter focuses, as I've said, on who he wants to keep for next season. And we could maybe this season, at a push, maybe still make Europe. Tall order. But let's see. Let's see what you got in your chat. Let's scroll down. So it's Nottingham Forest 5-4 on penalties. I didn't know it was on. FA Cup against Ipswich. Right. Well done to them. Frog, getting booed off if you've been shy is one thing, but coming on, even Mav doesn't merit that. Totally agree. So Forest have beaten Ipswich in the FA Cup. I didn't know it was on. Darren, yes, I'm going to Newcastle. What do you think the score will be? I think 3-2 or 2-1. We could beat them. We beat them at their ground. And why not beat them at our ground? 3-0 against the Tunes. Thanks for bringing me back to earth, Howard. Ben Johnson had a killer penalty a minute ago. Did he? But still lost, unfortunately. Graham, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. I'm going to have to listen from the start after work. It's been hectic. I hope you're well, mate. And thank you for joining. Sharky, controlled by, well, she'll only stand there and meow and then really put me off. So I just better to let her go now than have her standing there staring at me. Daniela, Leicester was so poor. Our centre-backs were playing as forwards, but we were really playing well together. Everyone working for each other. Absolutely agree. Darren, hope your line up is the one that starts against the Toonsdale. Will it be the same line? It wouldn't surprise me, and it won't surprise me if we play three at the back again. And like I said, don't misunderstand. If you play three at the back, doesn't mean you're just going out to defend. Absolutely not. You know, when we played three at the back again, or five at the back, we played two up front against Arsenal that I haven't seen in God knows how long. And we had outlets. It meant that when we got the ball, whereas in the past, we get the ball and we're like, well, who do we pass it to? Whack it up there and just hope for the best. Now, we've got two players up front, and that's how we scored our goal against Arsenal. You know, that's how we're getting our goals. Graham Potter, Darren, Daniela proving me wrong, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that too. Green Street, good evening to you, Greg. I hope you're well. Had it won second half, controlling the game. Why overcommit? Dodd 2-0, dodgy score if they get one back. Exactly that. It was done, finished. And a clean sheet on top of that, Andrew. You're absolutely correct. And then we have a chance with the quality we have up front. Tom and JWP always give 100%. Wan-Bissaka is the best right back we've ever had going forward. England call up? Why the hell not? Flyfox, a lot of channels are saying Todibo to Man United. How is it? We haven't bought him yet. That seems it is kind of ridiculous because we haven't even bought him yet. So we've got to, I'm telling you now, Nice, if we sell Todibo to Man United, Nice will have something to say about that because at this moment in time, he's still a Nice player, an OGC Nice player. He's on loan to us with an obligation to buy. The obligation has been triggered, but it's not going to happen until the summer. So I don't understand this thing about Todibo going to Man United. And I doubt very much Nice are going to be that happy. Will they have a say in it? Don't know. Is the 32 million that we've offered for him locked in? Possibly is. I can't see it happening, Flyfox, to be honest with you. I think it's weird. Bonnie, could have kept slipping over. Did he not have the right boots on? Although Leicester was so bad, he managed to slip over, get up, keep the ball, and got a shot away. He did indeed. You know what? I'm glad that Souček scored the goal, but I just wish that went in for Kudus. I think he needs a goal so badly. Howard, why would Todibo go to Manure? They're going down next season. Kelleher in? I wish so, mate. Schizo. I hope you're well, mate. Just back from Sligo Rovers versus Shamrock Rovers. 2-1 Sligo. My local lads managed to swerve the pub, settled for a cheeseburger. Happy Monday to you, mate. Thanks for joining the show. Stephen, I know we have issues with Mavropanos, but Boone, the guy coming on, is totally out of order. Totally agree. Daniela. Flyfox, yeah, poor reporting. We have to buy him first, then we can double the price. There you go. Vonnie, not a single card was given the whole game. Really surprising for Anthony Taylor. He had nothing to do as well. Surprised he wasn't looking at his phone for most of the game. Montana. I think a Gerd would fit in on our current back three, but will we cash in on him? It's a really good question. I asked that a couple of weeks back. It's interesting that he's got his worth back. You know, I think we can get 25 mil for him. And if we can get 25 mil for him, Carl McCauley would go out and find us a 15 mil left-sided centre-back. So it's quite possible we might sell him. But he's having a great season. Absolutely a great season. Daniela, Leicester put a wall in front of the goal. That's why it was hard to score against them. It absolutely was. And when you think that they were going to come at us, it really was quite weird. Montana Stell, Potter said he wanted a deal closer in his recruitment department. Will he get either Kevin Thelwell from Everton or Ashworth? Interesting that Ashworth is available. It's not going to cost anything for West Ham to come to come to us. I could see Ashworth coming. I could see it. Won't surprise me if he does. It won't surprise me if he does. Daniela, even Leicester fans have said we did not have to get out of second gear to beat them. Darren Ferguson is lacking confidence by the look of him. Lack of game time is probably the cause. Yeah, probably. I totally agree. Howard, all good strikers need a goal to settle their nerves. Totally agree. Daniela, we're not getting... Of course we're not. You know, there was a mild threat of it, without a shadow of a doubt there was. But those 33 points mean we're home and dry. Matthew, crikey, we didn't even boo Calvin Phillips, did we? You know what? We did not, Matthew. Good point. Philip, I was there last week, and to be honest, I didn't hear any boo. He got booed, mate, when he came on. We heard it in the Bobby Moore lower. NWO, booing Mavro was disgusting. He definitely did get booed, I'm afraid, Philip. Is a shame, but his name was announced and there was a boo. It's a small portion of fans, but didn't matter. Montana, thank God that Amorim guy ditched us. He looks very one-sided. He's so wedded to one system of play. Wasn't he our saviour? Wasn't he meant to be the man to take us to the promised land? Charles, look, I think actually next season, Amorim, when he gets a few players in, will do an awful lot better. I don't think he's finished just yet. But even what did he say yesterday in the press conference? That Man United are a team that want to win the league, etc., but maybe not under him. What interesting that. But this ain't a Man United podcast, so who cares? Charles, still with a break later on this month, would you consider having a YouTube chat with the other channels? Yes, I absolutely would. I love some of the other channels, and I will reach out and try and get one or two on. Definitely, good idea. Thank you. Done that one. I thank God that. Hey, are you repeating yourself, Greg? Nice. Could not sell him to Manure Direct the same owners. So possible gents agreement. The reason why they couldn't buy him last time was because Man United and Nice were in the same European competition. Now, if at the end of this season that they're not, yes, he can go to Man United, but the obligation to buy is a done deal. Montana, I would sell Souček to Everton. Would you though? We need better midfielders. The system looks sluggish because he cannot receive the ball or pass consistently. I know people keep saying that, but he crops up. And he scores vital goals. I think we will get other players in, without a doubt. And maybe someone like Souček won't play regularly if he stays. It's very possible. Matt, I know season tickets were mentioned, but as a renewal date being not yet, it hasn't. No, I expect an announcement to go out probably this or next week on renewals. What else we got? Montana. Mavro will go down as one of the biggest transfer duds by Tim Fraud and Guilherme too. You never know about Guilherme. He might still come good. Mike, Talibo, nice player. Ratcliffe link transfer. Can't happen to Man United. Conflict of interest. As I understand it, it was this season because both teams were in the same European tournament. Oh, mind you, no, you're absolutely right. And Ratcliffe has got ownership of both clubs. Yep. Good point. You're right. I thought it was only about Europe, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, he's got an interest in both clubs. Yeah, good point. Matt, still question. I'm band 5. If I wanted to move to a band 4 or 3, will it be full whack or is concession 100% applied to them bands? Sorry on the booze. Can't remember what you said earlier. My understanding is if you want to move, if you're band 5 and you want to move to 4 or 3, you're giving them more money. But you should still keep your concessions. Yes. But I will check with the club. AZ, being your own player is disrespectful. How does that help build confidence and make them want to play for the badge? Of course, he will make mistakes. I'm not even of Mavropanos. I'm not. I get what you're saying, mate. Man United owners, absolutely disgusting from them sacking the people who don't deserve losing their jobs. Mark Goldbridge said 1 month's salary of Casemiro would pay all their salaries. There you go. Fly Fox. Phillips didn't have a home game after the finger though. No, probably lucky that he didn't then, did he? Wasn't it? Andrew. Kudus needs to stop being greedy in situations when he has better options. It's my opinion. My only criticism. I agree with that. But you know what? He has started. I mean, I've got to laud him for the game he played against Arsenal. I said it last week. He was superb in that game, and he really was a team player in that game. And against Leicester, he didn't really have much to do. But you can see there's beginning to be a change in the way Kudus plays. He's a lot quieter, isn't he? He needs that goal. Montana Macaulay has plenty of cards up his sleeve, unlike Zelensky. Oh my God. Matt, I wanted Amorim. Thank God he ain't our manager. Shows what I know. But hey, United is broken at the moment. Even Pep would be a broken man after a month's worth of fixtures. Excuse me. Very true. Booing your own players is just, I'm not even a fan of Mother Partners. Thank you for correcting that. Andrew, Man United seemed like a graveyard for any manager. Something is seriously wrong with that club. Alec Ferguson retired. That's what's wrong with it. Usual. Amorim has aged 20 years in a matter of months. Montana, Lopetegui is still crying that we were going to qualify for Europe. Been gone, done it, forget about it. Brian, booing a player can have lasting effects on other players on the team. Hard to fully commit to a club, and then the supporters knowing that you could get booed off if you hit a bad patch. What a good point. And what a good point to finish off. My God, I've only done an hour and 11 minutes. I am sorry. But Warren, I think Solaire's a better player than most things. I like Soler. Don't get me wrong. I like him, but I just don't think we're going down that road. Rico, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. John, Daniela, was a Newcastle chat earlier. They're not in a happy place. We should not be scared of them. They're not in a happy place. You see, every fan's got it. Every fan base have got it. John, evening, Stell. It's Carnival in Trinidad. Have a few drinks. West Ham family, thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, or if you've watched the West Ham Voice before, but you've not become a subscriber, please subscribe. But at the very least, please do hit the like button. Thank you so much. How the mighty have fallen, Man United, they sure have. I think that's it, because I've only got a few more comments coming up. So thank you all. I know it's a short show. There's not a lot to talk about. Isn't that weird? Anyway. Of course, I'll be back later on this week. There are 1 or 2 specials that I want to do, so do look out for them. I'm still writing scripts, so I'm not going to commit to when. Friday Night Live should be back this Friday night, so do look out for that as well, people. And of course, there'll be a preview for the game against Newcastle coming up, etc., etc. Thank you for. Oh yes. Wolves. The game is still going on the 1st of April now that they're out of the cup, and of course the Liverpool game has now been moved, but may be moved back again depending on their progress in cup competitions. But that's it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for getting involved. Really, really appreciate it. Watch out for the other shows coming up, and I will see you all very soon.